Is feeling like you're in the wrong body evidence that you actually are in the wrong body? And should we encourage things like hormone replacement therapy and sex reassignment surgery to make the body match what the brain believes? Well, this is what people like Destiny and Dan McClellan argue, but I disagree. So in today's video, we'll see some trans-affirming claims, some studies that have been done about gender incongruence, and then my perspective as a Bible-believing Christian. Hey, my name is David Cipriano. I'm a youth pastor, and here on this channel, we talk a lot about biblical theology and Christian apologetics. And recently, Dan McClellan responded to a clip of me responding to Destiny and his wrong body argument for transgenderism. And Dan made a lot of false claims about me, and he even gave some personal attacks towards me. So I thought that today I would make a response video to him. I'll also share my beliefs about the studies done on gender incongruent individuals and how I'm actually not transphobic at all. But first, here's the video that Destiny posted and then my response to him. And then you'll see Dan's video with my rebuttals to him throughout.
Okay, here's a question. Let's say that we're 20 years into the future, we have brain transplant surgery. Let's say that I take your Rob's brain and I put it into a cis woman's body. Let's say that you wake up and you're like, this feels really wrong. I feel like a man and now I'm in a woman's body. Would you say that that's a disorder, that you have a disorder there?
I would say I have a disorder, an illness, or something that's wrong physiologically or mentally with my body, yes.
And then what is the disorder?
The disorder is that my brain is in the wrong body.
Okay, so what is a solution for that?
Put my brain in the body that more aligns with what my brain is.
Okay, you just stated exactly. Okay, I love you. You are the most trans-positive conservative I've ever argued with. So that is exactly the position that trans people take, is what you should do is you need to make the body match what the brain says. So that's why we have things like hormone replacement therapy, sex reassignment surgery. It's to make the body match what the brain is experiencing. So what you just said is that exactly.
It's funny that Destiny thinks this is a good argument, because in that hypothetical, the person's brain would actually be in the wrong body. That wouldn't just be gender dysphoria or confusion or an identity crisis. That would be literally transplanting a brain to another person. And I think that the fact that people have to create such ridiculous hypotheticals is proof that they're wrong, not that they're right. Because if your position only works in a crazy situation that's never happened before, and it doesn't work in the real world, then your position doesn't really work.
So this content creator's argument is that that thought experiment is a crazy hypothetical and not anything that has any relationship to the real world. Therefore, the idea doesn't work. And this content creator is wrong, because the thought experiment actually is very closely related to what's going on in the real world with gender dysphoria, and particularly with something called gender incongruence. And this content creator very clearly has never studied any of this and has absolutely no idea whatsoever what is being discussed in the scholarship that is studying this.
I actually never said that this thought experiment had no relationship to the real world, and I don't appreciate being misrepresented like that. I grant that there are those who feel like they're in the wrong body. I believe that gender dysphoria is real, and I genuinely care about the people who deal with it, and I want them to receive the best care. And to Destiny's hypothetical that he gave, a man's brain was transplanted into a woman's body, and that person would think that they're in the wrong body because they literally are. Again, that wouldn't just be confusion or dysphoria or incongruence. That is literally being in the wrong body. And as I said in my response to Destiny, this is a crazy hypothetical and something that doesn't happen in the real world. But I never said that this thought experiment had no relationship to the real world, because there are people who genuinely feel that way. There are people who feel like they're in the wrong body. And so whenever Dan made the claim that I have very clearly never studied any of this, and that I have absolutely no idea whatsoever what's being discussed in the scholarship, that's just a very inaccurate and even dishonest claim. I have researched this. I have listened to both sides, and I have come to my own conclusion. And yet Dan is blindly telling people that I've never studied any of this. The one who's clueless about somebody else and doesn't know what they're talking about is you, Dan. Dan then continues to say this.
Now, to begin, I am not a specialist in these things. However, one of my academic specializations does overlap with what's going on here. I wrote my doctoral dissertation on the cognitive science of religion and the conceptualization of deity and divine agency in the Hebrew Bible. Here is chapter 2 of my doctoral dissertation, Agency and Personhood, and I'm discussing this through the perspective of the cognitive sciences. And I spend an awful lot of this chapter discussing concepts of selfhood, how the mind generates an understanding not just of the psychological self, but of the biological and the material self as well. And one thing to understand is that the concept of one's self is something that emerges from our embodied, embedded, enacted, extended, and experienced thinking within social, cultural, and material environments. And it doesn't always isometrically line up with the body that we can see and touch and test. So, in other words, it can extend beyond it. The concept of the self can not fully inhabit the entire body, or it can be misaligned with the body in a variety of different ways. And this thought experiment, the notion of a brain inhabiting the wrong body, actually closely mirrors how people who experience gender incongruence talk about what they're going through.
I actually agree with all of that. I have no problem there. There are real people who have an idea of themselves that's misaligned with their body. Some people would call this gender incongruence, some would call it gender dysphoria, some say it's confusion, and some would say it's a mental illness, and that's what I would honestly believe. And I'm not saying mental illness to shame or ridicule these people. That's just the truth. It's a mental illness. Just like an anxiety disorder, just like bipolarism, just like schizophrenia, gender incongruence is a mental illness. And just like how I wouldn't hate anxious people or bipolar people or depressed people, I don't hate people who have gender dysphoria. I care for these people. I want for them to receive love, I want for them to know that they're cared for, and I want for them to get help. I wouldn't consider myself to be transphobic at all. And so I really don't appreciate the way that Dan McClellan has misrepresented me and spread lies about me. Now, I'm not going to play everything from Dan's video. His video to me was pretty long, but here's a fair summary of what he's about to say. Feel free to check out his video to see the more in-depth explanation, or if you think that I'm misrepresenting him. But Dan cites an Encyclopedia of Trans Studies, which says that gender dysphoria involves significant body image distress. That body image is shaped by both internal beliefs and social expectations, that many trans people experience psychological distress, and that brain imaging studies have found differences between transgender and cisgender individuals, with trans people showing brain activity as more typical of their preferred gender. And this study also showed that being perceived by others as your identified gender, which is a concept known as passing, it tends to higher body satisfaction. And again, I have no problem recognizing the validity of the research. None of those things really surprised me, and I believe that we should have compassion and care for all people, including for trans people. But I would argue that facts matter more than feelings. So while we shouldn't hate people or put people down for their perception of their gender, that doesn't mean that we're obligated to go along with whatever they think or say. Just like how I wouldn't affirm that a person who thinks they're a cat is actually a cat, I wouldn't affirm that a man who thinks he's a woman is actually a woman. And just to be clear about my stance on transgenderism, I'm not saying that being trans should be illegal. I'm not trying to discriminate against anybody. And I'm not saying that hormone replacement therapy or gender-changing surgeries for consenting adults should be outlawed. I believe in bodily autonomy. I'm just saying that I personally don't support or agree with these things. I'm not trying to make these things illegal. Now, the next thing that Dan talks about is how our minds create maps of our bodies that are sometimes misaligned with our physical bodies. For example, there are people who have missing hands, but they can feel phantom pain from an imaginary hand. And he talks about the methods for making that phantom pain go away. And here's his takeaway.
And this is an experiment that demonstrates that people have a sense of gender identity that they experience as real, because that is what their mind is generating, that is not in alignment with their birth-assigned sex. That creates that incongruence that is sometimes described as feeling like you're in the wrong body.
Again, I have no problem recognizing this and the reality of it. Our minds can create pictures of our bodies that don't correspond to the physical reality. But I would point to the verse Jeremiah 17:9 here, which says that the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Now, I am not suggesting that trans people are particularly evil or wicked, but this verse really proves a point. Because this concept, the concept of your heart deceiving itself, would apply not just to gender incongruent people, but really to all people and all thoughts. I mean, we often get deceived into believing falsehoods, and I am not immune to this. And so I would agree with Dan that there are real people who have phantom limb pain, even though that limb doesn't exist in the real world, and that there are people who see themselves as a different gender than their biological one. But hey, those thoughts and feelings aren't always reliable. As Dan would say himself, data over dogma. And I'm not saying that trans people are lying. I'm not saying that they're trying to deceive people or that they are just making things up. I grant their sincerity, but I still disagree with their conclusions, and I wouldn't personally agree with their decision to change their gender. And then Dan covers some more scholarship about the issue. He talks about a study that suggests removing gender dysphoria as a mental disorder. He talks about some other papers about neuroscientific, experimental, empirical research to better understand gender dysphoria and gender incongruence. And then he says a phrase that I always hate to hear people use.
And this is an experiment that demonstrates that people have a sense of gender identity that they experience as real, because that is what their mind is generating, that is not in alignment with their birth-assigned sex. That creates that incongruence that is sometimes described as feeling like you're in the wrong body.
Your sex is not assigned at birth. It's just recognized at birth. To assign means to give, implying that you didn't have it before the assignment. To recognize means to accept something that already exists. So whenever a baby is born and the doctor announces their sex/gender, they're not assigning anything. They're just recognizing the reality.
This is just a brief sampling of all kinds of research that is out there that has been going on for many years now, trying to better understand why is it that some people report feeling like they're in the wrong body. And so this content creator obviously does not know any of this, obviously has never done any of this kinds of research.
It's funny how Dan takes a 35-second clip of me speaking and then just assumes that I've never done any research. I really didn't say that much. I don't think I said anything that offensive in my video to Destiny. But Dan knows so much about me that he says that I have obviously never done any of this kind of research. And while I would agree that gender dysphoria is not an area of my expertise, I'm not like a scholar or an expert in this field, I'm not ignorant of the general claims being made here. I've listened to both sides, including from trans people themselves, but I won't concede that you are actually in the wrong body. It's a shame that Dan is so into the scholarship and the research and the studies, and yet he makes such negative assumptions about strangers based on a mere 35-second clip. Dan McClellan then ends his video by saying this, but I'll have to bleep him out because of some bad language that he decides to use.
I am not trying to speak as an authority on this. I'm just trying to speak as someone who is aware of this kind of research, has dabbled in research that overlaps with this, and so knows that there is research that establishes that that thought experiment actually closely corresponds to the way some people report experiencing gender incongruence. And so it is an accurate thought experiment. And this content creator doesn't know that because they have not done research, because they're not curious about this. They don't want to better understand what's going on here. They're just trying to defend their identity politics, which are right-wing authoritarian, which are harmful, which are hateful, which result in people being killed by others, which result in people taking their own lives, which result in all kinds of oppression and all kinds of discrimination and all kinds of prejudice and all kinds of mental health problems, makes these people's lives harder, and all they're trying to do is exist. And this content creator doesn't have the first clue what they're talking about. So, David, with all the sincerity, with all the concern that I can muster, shut the up, because you don't have the first clue what you're talking about, and what you're sharing is harmful and hateful and makes people's lives worse. Stop it. Go find something better to do with your time. Do not talk about trans issues on social media. And the fit for this video has been Spider-Man 2099.
Yet again, Dan is misrepresenting me because I have researched before, I'm willing to hear more perspectives, but I am not obligated to agree with Dan or anybody else. And I also reject the label of being right-wing authoritarian. It's funny that Dan gets so upset about me supposedly misgendering people or discriminating against trans people, while at the same time giving me a label that I wouldn't identify with. Shouldn't Dan be more sympathetic to my perceived identity of myself? And whenever Dan says don't talk about trans issues on social media, he's really just trying to control the narrative, because he's so insecure in his positions that he wants the other side to be silent. He wants for us to stop speaking, because whenever we speak for our beliefs, that's inconvenient for his beliefs. And while he wants for me to listen to what the other side says, which I have done and I will continue to do in the future, he wants me to not share my beliefs simply because he doesn't like them. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I really don't hate anybody. Whether you're cisgender, transgender, gender fluid, whatever you identify as, I care about you. I believe that you are made in the image of God and that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. This isn't just about straight, white, cisgender people that I'm saying this about. It's true about everybody. And I believe that Jesus loves you so much that he wants to be your savior, and that he died, was buried, and rose again to save you from your sins, and that you'll be saved and have a home in heaven if you believe in him. But hey, my love and care for you doesn't mean that I have to agree with everything you believe about yourself. I actually think that the most caring thing that you can do is to speak the truth in love, even whenever it's uncomfortable and it hurts. And so while Dan advocates for compassion and tolerance and he condemns bigotry, he apparently doesn't have that mindset toward me, telling me to shut up, but not in those words. And so, Dan, we don't need to play that game. We can disagree with each other without making verbal attacks and without becoming hateful towards each other. Dan, I could cuss you out in return. I could give you some childish insults. I could tell everybody some lies about you, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I will love you and I will pray for you. After all, Jesus said, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Thank you to everybody who has watched till the end of this video, and make sure to subscribe for more biblical teachings like this.